Have you ever found yourself saying yes when you really wanted to say no? Do you feel drained, unappreciated, or even resentful because you put everyone else's needs before your own? If you've ever felt stuck in this cycle of people-pleasing, you're not alone. The truth is, being too nice is not as harmless as it seems. It's silently killing your potential, draining your energy, and stopping you from living the life you deserve. But today, that stops. Right now, you're going to learn how to take back control, set boundaries, and reclaim your power. This isn't just about being more assertive. It's about learning to value yourself enough to protect your time, energy, and peace. I'm going to show you how saying no can unlock the door to the life you've always wanted. No more being the doormat. No more sacrificing your happiness for others. Get ready to transform the way you see yourself and your relationships. Stay with me. This could be the change you've been waiting for. How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? Think about it for a moment. How many times have you gone along with something just to avoid disappointing someone? How many times have you overextended yourself, ignored your own needs, and neglected your own well-being because you didn't want to rock the boat? The truth is, every time you do this, you're silently eroding your mental and emotional health. You're telling yourself that your needs don't matter as much as everyone else's. And that takes a toll. People-pleasing isn't just a minor inconvenience. It's a slow, silent killer of your potential. It drains your energy, keeps you stuck, and leaves you feeling unappreciated. You deserve more than this. It's time to stop letting the fear of upsetting others control your life. Being too nice is like pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You're giving, but nothing sticks. You give and give to others, but when it's time to take care of yourself, there's nothing left. You've sacrificed your own needs so many times that you start to forget what it feels like to value yourself. When you constantly put others first, you start feeling invisible, empty, and unnoticed. You end up giving everything you have, but still feel like you're not enough. That's the price of people-pleasing. It takes more than you realize. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's time to fill yourself back up. It's time to start putting yourself first. Every time you ignore your own needs, you chip away at your confidence and happiness. It's not just that you're giving too much, it's that you're giving in the wrong places. You're giving to others at the expense of yourself. This cycle of self-doubt and resentment builds over time. You tell yourself that you're not worthy of respect. You question your own needs and desires. You start to feel like your happiness doesn't matter as much as others. But let me tell you something, if you don't break this cycle, it will only get worse. The more you put others ahead of yourself, the more you'll lose sight of who you really are and what you truly want in life. It's time to stop the cycle. It's time to start choosing yourself. What happens to your dreams when you keep saying yes to everyone else? Think about it. Every time you say yes to someone else's agenda, you're saying no to your own growth. You're putting your future on hold because you're too busy trying to make everyone else happy. The truth is, you can't reach your full potential if you're always playing catch-up for everyone else. Saying yes to others may feel good in the moment, but in the long run, it's holding you back. It's stopping you from focusing on your dreams, your goals, and your purpose. If you want to grow, you need to learn to say no. Stop letting fear dictate your boundaries. The fear of rejection, the fear of conflict, the fear of disappointing others. These are the things that keep you stuck. They keep you in a loop of saying yes when you know deep down that it's not serving you. But here's the truth, saying no isn't the problem. The real problem is the fear that comes with it. Fear of what others might think. Fear of confrontation. Fear of being seen as selfish. But let me tell you, those fears are not serving you. They're keeping you small. And if you don't face them, they'll control your life. It's time to push past the fear and start saying no to things that don't serve you. Every time you say yes to someone else's agenda, you say no to your own growth. It's that simple. Every time you give your time and energy away, you're not just giving it to others, you're giving it away from your own dreams, your own vision, your own life. Unchecked generosity can lead to burnout. It can lead to missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential. You don't have unlimited time or energy. If you keep giving it to everyone else, there's none left for you. It's time to stop. It's time to start taking your time and energy back. Being too nice is not just about being agreeable, it's about losing yourself in the process. It's about putting others' needs ahead of your own, to the point where you forget what it means to prioritize yourself. But this stops today. Saying no is not a sign of weakness. It's a powerful way to protect your peace, your time, and your growth. You deserve to live a life that aligns with your values and aspirations. Start saying no. Start taking control. Have you ever said yes when you really wanted to say no? Have you ever overextended yourself, only to find that you're left feeling drained, unappreciated, and overwhelmed? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many of us have fallen into the trap of being too nice, constantly putting others first and neglecting ourselves in the process. But here's the truth. Being too nice is not as harmless as it seems. It comes with a hidden cost, a cost to your well-being, your mental peace, and even your future success. Today, we're going to break this down. I'm going to show you why constantly saying yes to everyone else is holding you back and keeping you stuck in a cycle of self-sacrifice. We'll explore how being too nice is eroding your energy, your creativity, and your happiness. And most importantly, I'll give you the tools to start reclaiming your time, energy, and life. This isn't just about boundaries, it's about learning to put yourself first and taking control of your own future. Stay with me. The change you're looking for starts now. How many times have you said yes to someone else, only to regret it later? We've all been there. You agree to help someone, take on a task, or attend an event, and in the moment it feels good. You're the reliable friend, the dedicated colleague, the one people can count on. But then, later, you feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and resentful. The hidden price of overcommitting yourself is much steeper than you realize. Every time you say yes to someone else, you're saying no to your own needs. You're giving away precious time and energy that could be spent on your own well-being, personal goals, or just some quiet time to recharge. It's like trying to fill a well that's already dry. You give, but you don't get anything back. You're not just depleting your time, you're depleting your mental and emotional reserves too. Saying yes too often is like running a marathon without rest. Eventually you hit the wall. Think about it: when you constantly overextend yourself, your body and mind can only handle so much before they start to shut down. You become exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally too. The pressure builds, and your motivation starts to dwindle. This is how burnout happens. You give so much of yourself to others that there's nothing left for you. You find yourself dragging through each day, struggling to keep up with your commitments, all while feeling like you've lost touch with your own needs and dreams. Burnout doesn't just steal your energy, it steals your joy, your creativity, and your ability to move forward. It's a vicious cycle that only gets worse if you don't start saying no. Every time you neglect your own needs, you silently resent the people you're trying to please. This is the silent killer of relationships. When you constantly put others first, you begin to feel resentful, even toward those you care about. It's not that you don't want to help them, it's that you're neglecting your own happiness, and it starts to weigh on you. That resentment builds over time. You feel taken for granted, unappreciated, and unnoticed. And the truth is, the people you're trying to please may never even realize the toll it's taking on you. If you continue down this path, resentment will continue to grow, and it will eventually erode your relationships both with others and with yourself. What is it that makes you fear saying no, even when you know it's the right choice? People-pleasing isn't just a habit, it's a mindset deeply rooted in the fear of rejection and the need for validation. You fear that if you say no, people won't like you, or worse, they'll think you're selfish. But here's the reality: when you constantly prioritize others, you're not actually doing anyone a favor. You're feeding into an unhealthy dynamic that keeps you stuck. Saying no isn't an act of rejection, it's an act of self-respect. You have every right to set boundaries. You have every right to choose what's best for you. But to do that, you first need to understand why saying no feels so difficult in the first place. You think saying yes will make people like you more, but it's actually keeping you stuck in a cycle of dependency. People-pleasing might seem like the key to acceptance, but in reality, it only reinforces unhealthy dynamics. The more you say yes, the more others rely on you. You become the go-to person, the one everyone turns to, but the problem is, this isn't true acceptance. True connection comes from mutual respect, not constant self-sacrifice. By giving up your own needs to please others, you reinforce a cycle of dependency that leaves you feeling trapped. You're not building genuine relationships, you're building a prison of expectations and obligations. It's time to break free. Saying no is the first step toward breaking that cycle. People-pleasing is like constantly watering a plant that's already overgrown. It needs to be pruned back for new growth to happen. When you're constantly focused on others, you neglect your own potential. You stop nurturing your dreams, your goals, and your creativity. Your vision gets crowded out by other people's agendas. By constantly putting others first, you're preventing your own growth. You're stifling your potential for new opportunities and creative breakthroughs. The more you ignore your own needs, the more you limit your ability to grow and succeed. It's time to prune back the distractions and start focusing on what matters most: your future, your dreams, and your well-being. The cost of always saying yes is high. It depletes your energy, drains your creativity, and builds resentment. It traps you in a cycle of self-sacrifice, where you give everything to others but nothing to yourself. But today, you have the power to break free. Start saying no. Start prioritizing your own needs. Start reclaiming your energy, your time, and your life. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first, and everything else will fall into place. Have you ever felt like you were always the one helping others, but when you needed help, you were left to figure it out on your own? Have you ever said yes to someone, even when deep down you didn't want to, because you feared disappointing them? Being nice feels good, doesn't it? But here's the problem: people often take advantage of it. and you end up drained, resentful, and wondering if your kindness even matters. This speech is for anyone who's ever felt like they're giving everything to others but getting nothing in return. Today we're going to talk about why being too nice can backfire, and how it opens the door for others to take advantage of you. We'll dive into the real cost of having weak boundaries, how manipulation can sneak in under the guise of niceness, and how constantly sacrificing for others creates a toxic cycle that erodes your confidence. But here's the good news. You can break free from this. You can set boundaries, take control of your life, and finally stop being taken for granted. Stick with me. This is the moment you start reclaiming your power. If you're always available for everyone else, who's there for you when you need support? Listen, there's no denying it. If you're constantly putting yourself last and saying yes to everyone around you, you're making yourself vulnerable. You're sending an invisible invitation for others to take advantage of you. The truth is, people don't know where to stop unless you show them where the line is. When you allow yourself to be always available, you're offering up your time, your energy, and sometimes even your peace, without getting anything in return. You're spreading yourself so thin that in the end, you have nothing left for yourself. And when that happens, when you have nothing left, you start to resent those who you've been trying to help. But the blame isn't on them, it's on you. You didn't draw the line, you didn't say no. When you say yes all the time, you're sending a message that your needs don't matter. Here's the hard truth. When you're constantly bending over backwards to please others, you teach them that your needs come second. And let me tell you something, people will notice that. They'll start to see you as an easy target, someone who won't push back, someone who will always step in when they need help. But at what cost? You start to feel drained, unnoticed, and unappreciated. Others may take advantage of your kindness without even realizing they're doing it. And you're left feeling empty, like you've given away pieces of yourself, and nothing in return. Lack of boundaries is like leaving your door wide open. People will walk in and take what they want. I want you to think about those moments when you've been taken advantage of. Maybe it's a friend who always calls you when they need something, but never when you need them. Maybe it's a colleague who expects you to pick up their slack, but doesn't offer help in return. This is the reality of not setting boundaries. You've probably heard the saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. The same goes for boundaries. If you don't establish them, you're leaving yourself wide open to be used. You're inviting others to walk all over you because you haven't drawn the line of what's acceptable. And when you don't stand firm, the consequences are inevitable. People will take advantage of your kindness if you let them. Let me tell you something. It's easy to be kind, but it's also easy for people to use that kindness against you. We all want to be liked, we all want to be helpful, but there are people out there who will manipulate your niceness to get what they want. They'll make you feel guilty for saying no or convince you that you're the only one who can help. When you constantly say yes, even when it's not in your best interest, you're setting yourself up for manipulation. Your niceness becomes a tool, something others use to control you. It's like being on a leash that they pull every time they need something and you have no control over where it leads. How often have you said yes, only to feel used or taken for granted afterward? I'm sure many of you have experienced this. You say yes to someone's request, and at first it feels good, maybe you feel helpful, or maybe you think they'll appreciate you. But soon that feeling fades. Instead of gratitude, you're left with feelings of being taken for granted, or worse, guilt. Here's the thing that's manipulation. When someone makes you feel guilty for not saying yes or uses your kindness against you, that's emotional manipulation. It's not your fault, you didn't ask for it. But the key is recognizing it so you can stop falling into that trap. The next time someone tries to manipulate you into saying yes, ask yourself this: am I doing this for me, or am I doing this just to avoid guilt? If you're not in control of your life, someone else will be. Let me make this clear: if you don't take charge of your decisions, someone else will. If you keep saying yes to people who are manipulating you, you're allowing them to control your life. And that's not living, that's being a passenger in your own journey. When you let others dictate your choices, you lose your sense of autonomy, you lose your self-respect, and you lose your ability to make decisions that are in your best interest. The longer you let others take the wheel, the further you drift away from your own goals and values. The consequences are real, and they are long-lasting. Every time you say yes to someone else's needs, you're saying no to your own well-being. Here's the reality: constantly prioritizing others takes a toll. You might think you're being noble or selfless, but the truth is, it's a slow burn. Every time you neglect your own needs for someone else's, you chip away at your own well-being. This emotional exhaustion doesn't just disappear, it builds, it weighs you down. And over time it creates a deep sense of frustration and resentment. When you've given everything to others and have nothing left for yourself, you start to wonder, where do you fit in? Where are your needs? Being too nice is like giving someone a free ride. They never learn to walk on their own, and you get exhausted from carrying the load. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with rocks. Every time you say yes, you add a new rock. Eventually, the weight becomes unbearable and you collapse under the pressure. That's what it feels like to constantly put others first while neglecting yourself. People will take what you give and they won't learn to carry their own load. In the end, you're the one who's drained and worn out, and the cycle continues until you take action. How can you ever feel truly confident when you're always second-guessing your worth? The hardest part about being too nice is that it leads to self-doubt. You start questioning your value. If you're always giving, always saying yes, and never standing up for yourself, how can you believe in your own worth? But here's the truth, you matter. Your needs matter. And when you start setting boundaries and putting yourself first, you'll begin to rebuild your self-respect and confidence. The path to self-respect starts with saying no. No to people who take advantage. No to self-sacrifice, and yes to putting yourself first. When you do this, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your life. Being too nice can cost you more than you think. It can lead to burnout, resentment, and a life dictated by others. But today, you have the power to change that. You have the ability to take control, set boundaries, and stop being taken advantage of. It's time to put yourself first. Draw that line. Reclaim your life. Have you ever found yourself saying yes to something you didn't want to do? Maybe out of guilt, fear of disappointment, or just because you didn't want to cause any conflict. And then you end up feeling drained, frustrated, and unfulfilled. Sound familiar? We've all been there, but here's the thing, learning to say no is one of the most powerful tools you can have in your life. It's not just about rejecting things, it's about taking control of your time, your energy, and your future. In this speech, I'm going to show you why saying no is crucial to your success, both personally and professionally. I'll walk you through how setting boundaries can protect your energy, how to say no without guilt, and how this simple act can actually open doors to greater opportunities. Saying no is not about being selfish, it's about being smart. It's about protecting what matters most to you, your goals and your well-being. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll see the transformative power of saying no. Without boundaries, you're allowing the world to dictate your energy and time. Let's face it, most of us live life like a sponge, soaking up every request, every favor, every invitation that comes our way. But here's the truth, if you don't set boundaries, you're not in control. You're letting everyone else decide where your energy goes. And that's a recipe for burnout. Think about it. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that could. When you say yes to every meeting, every project, every person's demand on your time, you're giving away pieces of yourself. And those pieces, once spent, are hard to get back. The key to personal and professional success is learning to say no. Boundaries are the framework that allows you to grow, focus, and achieve what truly matters. Without them, you're just reacting to life instead of shaping it. How many opportunities have you missed by saying yes to things that drained you? Let me ask you this. How often have you said yes to something only to later regret it? How many times have you agreed to help someone or take on a task, and afterward you realized it pulled you away from what really mattered? Saying no is about protecting your time and energy. It's about being intentional with where you place your focus. The more you learn to say no, the more you create space for what truly drives you forward. You get to decide what fills your days. When you stop spreading yourself too thin, you give yourself the freedom to put your energy toward the things that will move you closer to your goals. Saying no is not about being unkind. It's about being wise. You can't pour from an empty cup. By protecting your time, you protect your ability to succeed. Stop worrying about disappointing others. Start protecting your future. Let's be real for a second. You can't please everyone, and trying to do so will leave you miserable. It's human nature to fear disappointing others, but here's something I want you to remember. Your future is more important than someone else's temporary happiness. If you keep saying yes to people just to avoid their disappointment, you're trading your future for their approval. Let me tell you, this isn't worth it. Your time, your energy, and your dreams deserve to be prioritized. You cannot continue to sacrifice your well-being for the sake of others' expectations. It's time to take a step back and protect your future. The right people will understand, and if they don't, that's on them, not you. You don't need to apologize for setting a limit on your time. Let me break this down for you. Saying no doesn't need to be awkward. It doesn't need to come with an apology or an explanation. It just needs to be clear, firm, and respectful. Here's the trick. Don't over-explain yourself. You don't owe anyone an elaborate reason for saying no. A simple, "I can't right now," or "that doesn't work for me" is all you need. It's that simple. The more you practice saying no, the easier it becomes. And here's what's amazing: by setting a boundary, you're actually showing others respect. You're teaching them that your time is valuable and you won't let anyone take it for granted. You're not being rude, you're being assertive. Do you want to be respected for your kindness or for your ability to set clear boundaries? The way people treat you often has nothing to do with your kindness and everything to do with how you let them treat you. If you're constantly saying yes to every request, you're teaching people to take advantage of you. But when you say no with confidence, you show that you value yourself. You show that you know your worth. People respect boundaries. People respect strength. Assertiveness isn't about being rude, it's about being clear and standing firm in your decisions. It's about teaching others how to treat you. When you assert your boundaries, you set a standard for how you want to be treated, and that's the kind of respect that lasts. Imagine saying no to a request without giving a reason, just a firm, clear no. It's liberating, isn't it? This is the freedom that comes with learning how to say no. You don't need to justify your decisions to anyone. Your time, your energy, and your choices are yours to control. The next time someone asks for your time or energy, remember, you don't owe them an explanation. You don't need to explain why you can't help or why you have other plans. A simple no is enough, and in that moment you'll feel a sense of liberation. No guilt, no second guessing, just respect for yourself and your priorities. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your goals, you're sacrificing a piece of your future. When you say yes to everything, you're spreading yourself thin. But what about the things that truly matter to you? The goals you're working toward? The dreams that are waiting to be realized? Saying no is the key to creating space for those things. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your values, you make room for something that does. Think about your goals. How many of them have been delayed because you've been too busy trying to please everyone else? It's time to stop sacrificing your future for the sake of others' present. Saying no is how you protect what's important to you and create the time and energy you need to thrive. Think of your life like a puzzle. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your purpose, you're trying to force a piece that doesn't fit. It's frustrating, right? When pieces of your life don't fit together, nothing seems to flow. But here's the secret. Saying no is like taking out the pieces that don't belong. It's about creating a life that is focused and intentional. When you say no to distractions, you say yes to alignment. You say yes to your purpose. And what could you accomplish if you had the time and energy to fully invest in your dreams? Saying no isn't just about rejection. It's about opening doors. Every time you say no, you make space for something better. You make space for the people, the opportunities, and the experiences that align with your goals and vision. Think about the possibilities that are waiting for you once you stop saying yes to everything else. When you focus on what truly matters, that's when the magic happens. That's when you create a life full of purpose, growth, and fulfillment. Saying no isn't easy, but it's essential for your success. It's not about being selfish. It's about being smart. When you learn to say no, you take control of your time, your energy, and your life. You create space for what truly matters, and you protect your future from being hijacked by everyone else's demands. So from now on, when you feel the urge to say yes to something that doesn't serve you, remember this: you have the power to say no. And in doing so, you'll unlock a world of possibilities for yourself. Have you ever felt like you were constantly being pulled in 1,000 different directions? You say yes to this, yes to that, and before you know it, you're drained, overwhelmed, and at your breaking point. This is the reality for so many people who don't have clear boundaries. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't a luxury. They're a necessity. They're the key to protecting your peace, your energy, and your potential. Today, I'm going to show you why healthy boundaries are essential for your success and how they can help you thrive in both your personal and professional life. I'm going to walk you through practical steps on how to set and enforce these boundaries without feeling guilty or selfish. By the end of this speech, you'll understand how setting limits can open up the space for you to live a more balanced, empowered, and successful life. Stick with me, because the changes you'll make today could be the foundation for a healthier, happier, and more focused you. Boundaries aren't a luxury, they're a necessity for personal growth and success. Many people confuse boundaries with being rigid or unkind, but the truth is, boundaries are the very thing that allows you to thrive. They're not about pushing people away, they're about protecting what matters most: your time, your energy, and your mental health. Think of your life as a garden. Without boundaries, your garden becomes overrun by weeds, stress, burnout, toxic relationships, and endless demands. But with healthy boundaries, you create a fence around your garden, protecting the plants that nourish you and allowing you to flourish. In both your personal and professional life, boundaries are your shield. They allow you to say yes to what aligns with your goals and values, while protecting you from things that drain your energy or hold you back. Do you know where your limits lie, or are you constantly overextending yourself? Let's talk about boundaries in practice. In relationships, setting clear boundaries means understanding when to say no to demands or emotional labor that doesn't serve you. It could mean stepping back when someone expects you to drop everything for them, or saying no when you're stretched too thin. In work, healthy boundaries might look like setting clear limits on your availability. It's about defining your working hours and sticking to them. It's about resisting the pressure to answer emails at all hours of the night, or taking on projects that don't align with your skills or interests. Boundaries help you prioritize what's important, and they keep you from burning out. They protect your energy so you can focus on what truly matters. Boundaries are not walls, they are the fence that protects your garden from being trampled on. Remember this: boundaries are not about cutting yourself off from the world. They're about creating space for your growth, Without them, your energy is scattered, and you're constantly running on empty. But when you establish healthy boundaries, you're putting a protective layer around your most important resource, your time and energy. Boundaries allow you to focus on what nurtures you, whether that's personal growth, work that excites you, or relationships that support and inspire you. They create a healthy environment for you to thrive in. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. So how do you set boundaries without feeling bad about it? First, it starts with understanding that your boundaries are not negotiable. They are essential for your well-being. Here's a simple process for communicating them. Be clear and direct. When someone makes a request that doesn't fit with your boundaries, be honest. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not sure if I can help you," say, "I can't help with that right now." Keep it simple. You don't need to over-explain or apologize. A simple no is enough. Stay firm. Don't waver when someone pushes back. If you've set a boundary, stand by it. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be uncomfortable. In fact, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And the best part, when you communicate your boundaries clearly, you teach others how to respect you. What's more important, pleasing others or protecting your peace? One of the hardest parts of setting boundaries is dealing with the guilt. You might feel bad for saying no, like you're letting someone down. But here's the reality: when you say yes to others at the expense of your own peace, you're doing more harm than good, not only to yourself, but to the relationship as well. Think about it. If you're constantly overextending yourself, you're eventually going to burn out. And when that happens, you won't be able to show up as your best self for anyone. The truth is, setting boundaries is the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for others. It ensures you're able to bring your best self to the table, and it teaches others to respect your needs as well. Imagine being able to say no without hesitation, without guilt, and without over-explaining. How freeing would that feel? The power of saying no lies in its simplicity. When you stop overthinking every no you need to set, you free yourself from emotional exhaustion. Saying no isn't about being rude, it's about being clear about your needs. Think of it like this: every time you say no with confidence, you're taking back control of your life. You're choosing to prioritize your well-being, and that's a powerful thing. When you enforce your boundaries, you teach others how to respect you. Setting boundaries isn't just about taking care of yourself, it's about teaching others how to treat you. When you don't set boundaries, you send the message that your time and energy aren't important. But when you make it clear that you won't tolerate disrespect or overextending yourself, you gain respect, both from others and from yourself. Think about people you respect. Don't they always seem to know their limits? They protect their time, energy, and mental health, and that's why they're able to show up as their best selves. Setting boundaries is not only a sign of self-respect, but it also earns you the respect of others. Are you ready to stop sacrificing your well-being for others and start prioritizing your happiness? Boundaries are the key to a healthier, more balanced life. Without them, you're constantly giving until you have nothing left to give. But when you set clear limits, you preserve your energy, your time, and your peace of mind. The benefits are immediate: less stress, less burnout, and more time for the things that matter most. Your physical health improves, your relationships grow stronger, and your mental clarity sharpens. When you take care of your boundaries, you're creating a life that's healthier, happier, and more fulfilling. Boundaries allow you to show up as your best self, not a version of you that's burnt out or resentful. When you set boundaries, you stop pretending to be someone you're not. You stop sacrificing your needs for the sake of others. Instead, you create space to show up fully, to be present, and to be your authentic self. You have the energy to give to your passions, your work, your relationships, and most importantly, to yourself. You stop resenting the people or the situations that drain you, because you've already put the boundaries in place to protect yourself. Boundaries empower you to live the life you've always wanted. They're the foundation of a balanced, fulfilled life, one where you are in control. Healthy boundaries are not just about saying no, they're about saying yes to your peace, your potential, and your future. They allow you to create the space to grow, to thrive, and to live a life that's true to who you are. So take a moment to reflect. What boundaries do you need to set in your life? What will you say no to, so you can say yes to the things that matter? Remember, you are worth the effort it takes to protect your time, energy, and peace. When you establish and enforce your boundaries, you're building a life that's not only empowered, but deeply aligned with your values. Your future self will thank you for the boundaries you set today. Have you ever avoided a difficult conversation or held back your true feelings because you were afraid of the conflict it might cause? Maybe you've tiptoed around issues afraid to speak up, only to feel the weight of that unspoken tension growing. If this sounds familiar, then it's time for a shift in perspective. What if I told you that conflict doesn't have to be something you run from? What if it could be the very thing that helps you grow stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with your true self? Today, I'm going to guide you through how to overcome the fear of conflict, stand your ground with confidence, and embrace the discomfort as a powerful catalyst for personal growth. Conflict doesn't need to be your enemy. When approached with the right mindset, it can be the fire that refines you. Stick with me, because the lessons you learn today could transform how you handle challenges in your personal and professional life. Let's dive in. What if conflict isn't something to avoid, but a tool for your growth? For many people, conflict is the thing we fear most. We avoid it, run from it, or bury it in the hope that it will resolve itself. But what if the discomfort of conflict is actually an opportunity for evolution? What if the tension you feel when facing a disagreement is the very thing that pushes you to become a stronger, more self-assured person? When we view conflict as a necessary part of personal development, it shifts everything. Suddenly, it's no longer something we need to fear, it's something we can embrace. Conflict has the power to clarify what matters, sharpen our understanding, and strengthen our convictions. Instead of seeing conflict as something destructive, see it as the tool that it is, a way for you to grow, communicate more effectively, and become more aligned with your true self. Conflict is not an enemy, it's the fire that refines you. Just like fire burns away the impurities in metal, conflict burns away the false beliefs, fears, and limiting patterns that hold us back. It exposes what's underneath our true values, our needs, and our strengths. Without conflict, we might never discover these things about ourselves. Think about the most impactful experiences in your life. Chances are, they didn't come from smooth sailing. They came from moments where you were challenged, where things didn't go as planned, and you were forced to either grow or stay stuck. Conflict is part of the process. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's also necessary. It's the forge that sharpens your character and molds you into someone who can face challenges with confidence, handling situations where others don't respect your boundaries. It's time to stop shrinking in the face of resistance. Your boundaries are yours to protect. How often do you find yourself backing down when someone pushes against your limits? Whether it's at work, in relationships, or in other areas of life, many of us have been taught to compromise, to apologize, and to bend when others don't respect our boundaries. But let me be clear, this needs to stop. Your boundaries are not negotiable. They're essential for your well-being and personal growth. If someone is pushing against them, you have the right to stand firm, without guilt or hesitation. Start by practicing calm, confident responses. When someone oversteps, you can simply say, "I'm not comfortable with that," or "That's not something I'm willing to do." No explanations needed. You don't owe anyone an explanation for setting a boundary. You don't need to raise your voice to make your point. Think of your stance like a tree in a storm. It stands tall without shaking or breaking. When you're faced with resistance, it's tempting to become defensive or aggressive. You might want to shout your point louder or try to convince the other person that you're right, but that only escalates the situation. Instead, imagine yourself like a tree, strong, rooted. You don't need to scream to prove your strength. In fact, the quieter you stand in your truth, the more power you wield. Standing firm in your boundaries doesn't require aggression or shouting. It simply requires confidence. Remember, calmness in conflict is strength. When you stay firm without becoming aggressive, you're not only protecting your boundaries, you're also commanding respect from others. The real power comes when you stop apologizing for your needs and desires. For far too long, many of us have lived under the shadow of people-pleasing, trying to meet everyone else's expectations, even at the expense of our own happiness and well-being. But let me tell you something. The real power comes when you stop apologizing for your needs. When you stand up for yourself, you reclaim control over your life. You stop letting others dictate your worth, and you begin to define it for yourself. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being self-respectful. It's about understanding that your needs are just as important as anyone else's, and when you honor them, you create the space for your true self to flourish. You'll feel more empowered, more confident, and more in control of your own life. Standing up for yourself isn't just a momentary act, it's a way of life. What could you achieve if you stopped trying to meet everyone else's expectations? How much energy do you waste trying to make everyone around you happy? Constantly reshaping yourself to fit other people's ideas of who you should be. What if you could stop that cycle? What if you could let go of the fear of disappointing others and instead prioritize your own happiness and goals? The moment you do that, you free yourself from the exhausting grip of people-pleasing. Trying to please everyone is like trying to fit into shoes that don't fit. The moment you stop, you'll realize there's a perfect fit waiting for you. When you stop pretending to be someone you're not, the world becomes a much more accepting place. The right people will be drawn to you. People who appreciate you for who you truly are. And you'll be able to move forward in life, not by fitting into someone else's mold, but by embracing your own authenticity. Conflicts don't have to be the monsters we avoid. When approached with the right mindset, they are the fire that refines us, sharpening our values, our boundaries, and our strength. By standing firm in our beliefs and embracing the discomfort of conflict, we empower ourselves to grow into the best version of who we are meant to be. So the next time conflict arises, instead of running from it, stand tall, set your boundaries, speak your truth, and remember it's not about avoiding conflict, it's about using it to fuel your growth. And with that, you will experience a level of freedom and empowerment that will change your life. Do you ever find yourself second-guessing your decisions, seeking validation from others, or wondering if you're truly enough? If you're tired of feeling like you need to prove your worth to everyone around you, today marks the beginning of a shift. This speech isn't about empty words or superficial affirmations. It's about real, actionable steps to reclaim your sense of self-worth and build confidence that comes from within. You're not here to please others or constantly seek approval. You're here to take control of your life and recognize the immense power that already exists inside you. I'll show you how to stop doubting yourself, how to set boundaries with confidence, and how to embrace the authentic version of you that the world needs. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share could change the way you see yourself forever. Your worth comes from within, not from how others see you. So many of us fall into the trap of seeking external validation. We base our worth on likes, comments, or the approval of the people around us. But let me tell you something powerful. Your value is not determined by anyone else's opinion. Think about it. If your worth is based on others' approval, you'll always be at the mercy of their moods, their biases, and their perceptions. You'll never be able to build true confidence because it's always tied to something unstable. But when you recognize that your value is intrinsic, that it's rooted in who you are, not in what others think of you, that's when everything shifts. Take a moment to remind yourself, you are valuable, just as you are, not because of how you look or what you can give to others, but because you are uniquely you. Once you internalize this truth, you'll no longer waste your energy on trying to earn approval. You'll begin to live for yourself, not for others. The role of self-love and self-respect in breaking free from the trap of niceness, self-love, is the anchor that keeps you grounded when the world tries to push you off course. Let's talk about self-respect. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will. You might be thinking, but I've always been nice. I've always tried to make others happy. That's great, but niceness isn't the same as self-respect. Niceness often comes from a place of fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing others. Self-respect, on the other hand, is about recognizing your own value and standing firm in it. When you start to love and respect yourself, you'll notice a change. You'll stop allowing others to push you around or manipulate you. You'll stop saying yes when you really want to say no, and you'll stop apologizing for your needs. You are worthy of respect, even if it means saying no to people you care about. It's not selfish, it's self-care. It's about creating healthy boundaries that protect your energy and your peace of mind. The people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, not resent them. How confidence grows through small, consistent actions of assertiveness. Confidence isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you develop through consistent practice. Many people think that confidence is something you either have or you don't, but that's simply not true. Confidence is like a muscle, it gets stronger the more you use it. The key is to start small. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to show up, even when you're unsure. It's about making decisions that reflect your self-respect, even if they feel uncomfortable at first. Think about it this way. The first time you try something new, you feel nervous, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. The same goes for confidence. The more you assert yourself, the more natural it will feel. So if you want to be confident, start practicing it every day. Take small actions that require you to speak up, to set boundaries, to express your needs. With each action, your confidence will grow. If you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to? Start by taking little steps every day to practice standing up for yourself. It doesn't have to be a grand, dramatic gesture. Start by speaking up in small ways. Share your opinion when you would normally stay quiet. Say no when someone asks you for something that you don't have the time or energy for. Every time you do this, you're flexing your confidence muscle. Don't wait for a perfect moment to practice confidence. It's in those everyday situations at work, with family, in your relationships, that you build the strength to stand firm. And as you do this, you'll begin to see your self-worth reflected in the way others respond to you. Confidence grows with every small victory. Every time you stand up for yourself, you get stronger. Every time you stand up for yourself, you get stronger. Don't underestimate the power of small wins. It might feel insignificant at first, but each time you assert yourself, you're building something powerful. Think of each small victory as a brick in the foundation of your confidence. Over time, these bricks add up, and you'll find yourself standing on a solid platform of self-assurance. Remember, confidence isn't built overnight. It's the cumulative effect of every action, every choice you make. So celebrate those small wins, because they are the stepping stones to a more confident, empowered you. Stop letting the fear of disappointing others control your actions. Here's the truth. Living for other people's approval will never bring you peace. It will only trap you in a cycle of self-doubt and frustration. You'll constantly be second-guessing your decisions, wondering if you're doing enough, or if you're measuring up to others' expectations. But when you stop worrying about pleasing everyone else, something incredible happens. You start to live authentically. You stop apologizing for being yourself. You stop shrinking to fit into the boxes other people try to put you in. That fear of disappointing others, it disappears. And in its place, you'll find the freedom to live your life according to your own rules, based on your own values, and with your own desires in mind. You can't go where you're meant to go if you're always worried about who you might disappoint along the way. When you embrace your true self, you remove all the distractions that hold you back. You stop wasting energy trying to be what others want you to be, and you start focusing on what you truly want to achieve. Authenticity is magnetic. The more you show up as your true self, the more you attract opportunities that align with who you really are. You begin to draw in people who appreciate you for you and situations that help you grow. When you're authentic, you don't have to chase opportunities, they come to you, because the right opportunities are drawn to the real you, not a version of yourself you've been pretending to be. Your authenticity is your strength, let it shine. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stop dimming your light because you're afraid of what others might think. The real power, the real strength comes from embracing your authentic self. When you do this, not only will you find peace, but you'll also unlock a life full of possibilities. Your unique qualities, your experiences, your perspective, they're what set you apart. So let go of the fear and embrace who you truly are. Because the world needs the real you, the one who is unapologetically themselves. And when you embrace that, you'll find that your true potential has always been waiting for you. Developing self-worth and confidence isn't a one-time event, it's a journey. But by building your worth from within, practicing small acts of assertiveness every day, and embracing your true self, you will unlock a life of freedom, strength, and limitless potential. You are worthy, you are capable, and your confidence is waiting to be unleashed. Are you tired of putting others first, while you're left feeling drained and overlooked? Have you ever found yourself saying yes when you really wanted to say no? Maybe it's time to stop waiting for someone else to make the change for you. Today, we're going to take control. We're going to explore why being too nice can hold you back, how setting boundaries is the key to living authentically, and why learning to say no is an essential step to reclaiming your power. This isn't just about changing your mindset, it's about taking action. Today marks the beginning of a journey where you will stop allowing others to dictate your worth, and you will step into the person you were always meant to be. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change your life if you're ready to act. Being overly nice is draining your potential. It's time to face the truth. We've all been there, right? The constant urge to please others, to avoid conflict, to keep the peace. But here's the thing. Being nice all the time doesn't make you a better person. It makes you a prisoner of other people's expectations. The more you give, the more people take. And before you know it, you're emotionally drained, resentful, and stuck in a cycle of self-sacrifice. That nice mask you wear is only masking the truth that you're letting your needs go unmet while your happiness is put on hold. So let's call it what it is. This pattern isn't helping you or anyone else. It's holding you back. And the longer you stay in this cycle, the more you lose sight of your true potential. Boundaries are your shield, not your prison. Here's what I want you to understand. Boundaries are not barriers to your happiness. They're the foundation of it. Boundaries protect your energy, your time, and your mental health. They allow you to prioritize what matters to you and safeguard your well-being. Without boundaries, you're left at the mercy of everyone else's demands. You're constantly giving, constantly bending, until you're so worn out that you don't even know who you are anymore. But when you set clear, firm boundaries, you're making a powerful statement. I respect myself enough to protect my time and my peace. You're not closing yourself off to the world. You're protecting your most valuable resource. What's more important, pleasing others or protecting your peace? Saying no is one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. And yet many of us avoid it because we fear disappointing others. But let me tell you this, saying no isn't just about rejecting someone's request. It's about affirming your own worth. When you say no, you're saying yes to yourself. You're putting your needs first and ensuring that your time and energy are aligned with your values. This is how you take back control. Think about the last time you said yes to something you didn't want to do. How did you feel afterward? Chances are you felt resentful, drained, or maybe even a little bit bitter. Now imagine what it would feel like to say no to protect your peace and your purpose. Start by setting a boundary right now. Choose one thing you've been saying yes to and say no. It's easy to listen to a speech, nod your head, and think about how things should change. But change doesn't happen unless you take action. Right now, I want you to think about one situation in your life where you've been saying yes out of obligation or fear. Maybe it's a friend's request, a work commitment, or something you've been tolerating just to avoid conflict. Now make a decision. Set a boundary. Say no. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. The act of saying no will feel uncomfortable at first, but every time you do it, it becomes easier. It builds your confidence, and it reinforces your self-respect. This is your chance to start taking back control. Don't wait for permission. Take the first step today. Your happiness and potential are on the line. Take control now, before it's too late. The clock is ticking. Every day you spend without setting boundaries is a day you're losing to others' demands. Every moment you continue to people please is another moment you're not living authentically. You can't afford to wait. The time for action is now. Don't let another day slip by. Your happiness, your fulfillment, and your potential are on the other side of this decision. You owe it to yourself to act, and you owe it to yourself to start today. You were meant for greatness, not to be a doormat. Your time is now. Let me tell you something. There is more to your life than constantly sacrificing for others. You were not put on this earth to live in fear of disappointing others, to shrink in the background, or to settle for less than you deserve. You were meant to shine, to live a life of purpose, and to command respect. It's time to stop playing small. It's time to step into the fullness of who you are. You were born for more. It's time to stop letting others define your worth. Take a stand today. Embrace your worth and let the world see the powerful, unapologetic you. This is your moment. No more waiting. No more holding back. You have the power to change your life, starting right now. So take that first step, set that boundary, say no, and let the world witness your transformation as you step into your power. The journey to reclaiming your peace, your power, and your purpose starts now. Don't let another moment pass by. It's your time. Step into your greatness. Today is the day you stop letting others control your life. You've learned the dangers of being too nice, the importance of setting boundaries, and the power of saying no. Now it's time to act. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start today. The life you want is waiting for you, and it all starts with you taking control. Take a stand for yourself. Embrace your worth, and step boldly into the future you deserve.